Top of the morning, ladies and gentlemen. Do a little something different tonight. Well, this morning I should say. It's still kind of dark out there though, but today we're gonna do what we call Saturday morning cartoons. Now I don't know about this new generation. I know when we was coming up, if you was fortunate enough, you wake up on a Saturday morning, make a big ass bowl of cereal, and get on the floor in front of their TV, and you'd watch your favorite cartoons. Now, one of mine just so happened to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And put this damn phone down. Yeah, and as fate would have it, I'm about to show you how that cartoon in particular relates to the Earth, and give you a slight example of how this is a thing I put together in order to illustrate how the Earth came into formation or whatever relates to that television show based off of zoology, or the zoo type of the turtle. And when I say zoo type, basically what I'm breaking down is, or saying is, or referring to is the animal totems, and how we used animals, or how we would use an animal as symbolic of many things. In this case, the Earth. So, first and foremost, let me give you a rundown on give you a background on the whole Ninja Turtle thing or whatever. So you have these turtles. They're underground in the sewer. That's Osirian right there within itself. You got the green popping off, then you got the whole underground aspect of it, which is Osirian, Lord of the Underworld, and you have these turtles along with a rat that live under that live in the sewer or whatever, and some type of ooze. They come in contact with this ooze, this slime, this which basically transforms them into turtles with human bodies or whatever. And there's 4 of them. And then you have Master Splinter, who's a rat with a ant with a human body. Now, when you look at the cartoon, before we get into the whole, before we get into the picture or whatever, you got a little some things I came across while researching. Not necessarily for this, but really way before I even start putting this together, I had came across this information. But a few things I felt like that stuck out. You have April O'Neil, who's she's a reporter that's down with the turtles or whatever. And when I was reading up on it through Google, when you watch the cartoon, the first cartoon that came out, because originally it was a comic book, when you watch the first cartoon uh, I mean, when you look at the first cartoon, April O'Neil is a white girl, but when you go to the comic book, she's a black girl. Just like they have another character on there who's a villain, which I got to get into the villains too. But you have one of the villains is Baxter Stockman, which is he's a half man, half fly or whatever. He's a man with a fly face and wings like a fly on his back or whatever. Which they probably got that from your boy, I think his name Jeff Goldberg or something like that. In a movie called The Fly, where he had the machine. I think he had like a some type of machine, and a fly ended up getting in the machine or some shit. It ended up transforming him into a fly or whatever. But they say Baxter Stockman. As for what I read on Google, Baxter Stockman was supposed to be when the cartoon came out. Originally, they was gonna have him as a black man, but the character was gonna be working for this type of asshole type of boss or something or whatever, which is a white guy. And according to Google, what I read on Google, they said they changed the character from black to white due to concerns about racial insensitivity, because they felt like depicting a black man in a laboratory taking orders from a white man, which would be his boss or whatever. They didn't want it to come off as some type of they felt like it was going to be a little controversial for his race, having a black man taking orders from a white guy or whatever, or something like that. You can Google this shit. You Google Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever, and check it out on your own. But so you had that, and then you have Shredder, who's the one of the leaders of the villains. Now Shredder, he represents Soot. For one, you look at his name, Shredder. Shred, to chop up or cut. What does Soot do? He chops up the body of Osiris or whatever. And his voiceover is done by Uncle Phil from I think his name is Avery Johnson from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or whatever. Then you have his partner, which is Crane the Brain. And Crane is basically a brain with he's a brain, but he sits in the he's a brain, he has a body, a robotic body, but he's a brain, but he's in the stomach of that robot that he's controlling or he's using to get around or whatever. So on. And then you have the main two goons or whatever, which is Rocksteady and Bebop. Which somebody broke down some shit the other day. I just so happened I ran into this the other day. The cat brought it to my attention on TikTok. He was breaking down how if you look at the Ninja Turtles, they all named after Romans. Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael or whatever. And then he said you look at the main two goons, where you got the top bosses, which is Shredder and Crane, and then they got their two flunkies, their main flunkies, which are Bebop and Rocksteady. And then they had like they soldiers, which is the foot soldiers, the Foot Clan or whatever. And I'll breaking all that down in a little bit, but so they got the Foot Clan or whatever. Now and he was saying how if you look at Rocksteady and Bebop, He said bebop, which I already see. I knew this for as the bebop and rocksteady. I already knew that them two right there represented forms of, or you could trace them back to niggas or blackness just based off their names. As bebop, or when you hear the name bebop, the first thing I think of is hip hop. Niggas bebopping, you know, One Love, Peace to Biz, Marquee, or whatever. Dougie Fresh. But in his video, he started breaking down bebop, because you can look at, you got the word bebop and you got beatbox. When we say bebop, we mean beatbox too within hip hop or whatever. But he was breaking down how bebop originally was a form of jazz, if I'm not mistaken, and then rocksteady was I think a Caribbean, is a Caribbean style music, a form of reggae or something like that. Anyway, all black shit though. And rocksteady and bebop always get their ass kicked by the Turtles. So he was breaking down how that could be seen as then you look at rocksteady and bebop. Bebop is a warthog, which is indigenous to Africa. And rocksteady is a rhino, which is indigenous to Africa. He was breaking that down and said how you got they named the Turtles after the Roman cats or whatever. So it's like you got the whites or the Romans as the heroes, or and they took the villains and gave them a sense of a nigger, or named them in a manner that would associate them with Africa or whatever. So I thought that was an interesting, because I was already looking at I was already identifying how you had a lot of nigga shit going on with the villains. But then April O'Neil, she's on the good, on the hero side of things or whatever. And her original character was black, but they made her white when they flipped it from the comic book to the cartoon or whatever. So I thought that was quite interesting or whatever. But let's get into it. So now when you look at the Turtles are the they represent by them being the protagonists or the heroes of it, they represent the hero. Master Splinter, the rat, he represents Osiris. He's the leader. He's the sensei or whatnot. And then you have them four as the heroes or whatever. And when the cartoon first come on or whatever, you see the sewer lid pop up. And then after the sewer lid pop up, the four turtles jump out or whatever. Well, let's go back to this joint here. Let's see if I can see it good enough. Yeah, straight. So yeah, this right here would be, we can look at this, the Eye of Soot or whatever. Before the formation of the earth began, you can look at that as the lid of the sewer or whatever, with this being the underworld that's about to be created. This is still a light. It's still light, but a mentor is about to be created once the process kick off. And if you already been following my work, you already know how this process goes. But I'll break it off again. Like I said, you got the whirlwind right here, the shoe. Once the whirlwind sucks the lid, this part, this pineal gland or this center part up and sucks it up this way, that will be akin to or similar to the lid popping off of the sewer. Now this is the top right here. This right here is a bird's eye view of this, the top or whatever, with this point right here being right here. So when this shoots up, that means this comes up. Now, when this shoots up and goes up here to become the crown star, pole star, or star Sirius or whatever, when it shoots up, 4 more follows it before the 7 starts to go up with it. So when this one goes up, simultaneously, this one comes up, and then one goes here, one goes here, one goes here, and one goes here. That's your 4 turtles. With now, as the process goes, once that goes up and shoots up here, and then those other 4 come out, boom, 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 boom. After that, these 7 start to make their way up here. But this, like I said, this one right here, when it goes up, it calls out 7 more spaces for these 7 balls of light, or 7 spheres of energy that come up and occupy and create 7 up here. The same way you got 7 down here. So when when these 7 shoot up or whatever, as I always break down to you, when it shoots up and the light starts to suck the center up, you have all this light coming from the side, pushing up as it's coming towards the center to come up through the flanks and spill out this way at the top or whatever. So while this light is coming to the center, it's pushing up on the top. It's coming to the center and it's pushing up, and it's causing the mountains to come up. When you go look at the video game Mario and you see those turtles with the spikes on their back, or if you go and look at when you go look at the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, instead of Bebop and Rocksteady I think it's part 2 with because you had Toka and Razor. I think Toka was a wolf and Razor was a turtle with a spiny back or spikes in his back. Or when you look at Mario, you see the turtles with the spikes on their back. That comes from, like I said, when all this energy is coming towards the center to make its way up through the entrance, it's pushing up and creating them 7 mountains on the top of this spear, this would be the top of the it'll be like it'll look as if it's a top of a turtle back or half a spear with mountains spikes coming up off the back or whatever. So now for those who are not familiar with the process, when this goes up, it fixates itself up here. It's followed by these 7, and as these 7 go up, they have they create a spine, create an ash that comes from the center, because this one goes up, the other 4 come out, and then these 7 start to go up here. But as they go up here, the melanin, for y'all that don't know, this the top part right here, this is melanin, and called the primordial waters of Mutant, which is basically before the physical Earth came in the formation. You had basically a coin shape. I know I just had this motherfucker. Shit, bro. This was the top, bird's eye view, and under that is this right here. It'll look like that. under here or whatever. So while the light is down here, it's coming towards the center and it's pushing up. And as it's pushing up, it's pushing up on up from behind this. And as the light comes through here, or comes this way, you got light coming straight up the center, then you got light spilling from the flanks going that way or whatever, turning this at the top into this, flooding it with light. But in the process of doing that, as the light is raising up and coming through the centers, coming through the flanks, it's causing water to evaporate from out of the primordial waters of noon or whatever. And the same way that the light is coming through the flanks, but as it's going up here, you have melanin sinking down. But like I said, you got the pole or the spine, which is created by ash, or formed by ash that's created when the most concentrated point of light goes up the center or meets with the melanin that's coming down right here. The most concentrated point, the center, creates an ash, and then you have melanin oozing when you get to when you go to you start dealing with Arabic texts or the Quran or whatever, you have what you call al-Uzza, which is another word for Osiris or whatever. And you would have the melanin oozing. Same way you got light coming up here and going through the flanks, you have melanin doing the same thing, coming down here and flanking down here. But as it's coming, dripping down here and flanking, with the ash spine coming through here, and you got the light going straight up, and then you have spears of melanin being pushed down as each one of these go up. For every one of these that go up, a spear of melanin is created right here on the spine and pushed down until you got 7 balls of melanin or whatever with the spine. So I think the second movie, because you had more than, I think you had like 3 or 4 Ninja Turtle movies or whatever, but the second one was called The Secret of the Ooze or whatever. That's what's the secret of the ooze. That whole concept comes from this right here. When the melanin oozes down here, and then you it's oozing into the hidden land, the secret land, which is a mental. A mental being aiming ta. Aiming means hidden, ta means land. That's the underworld or whatever. So you have the melanin oozing down here, and it's coming through the flanks, but it's spreading out this way. So you got the center coming down here, which, let me grab the other one now. Make us a bowl of cereal around this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So, make sure y'all can see that shit right. Yeah, so eventually what you would have is this right here. After all the melanin comes down on the pole, and the melanin on the side oozes on the sides and comes and spreads out this way, oozing, sticking, and coagulating, but yet still expanding outward, while on the top, all the light that shot from the bottom, all the light that came up here and flanked from the sides the same way the melanin flanked the sides down here, create this light or whatever. So by now you can see two turtles with their bellies or their stomachs facing each other. So you have a turtle shell here, or whatever. This is where you get the whole concept of the turtle dove thing from. When all this light travels up here and all 7 of them spheres meet up here, and all that water that follows them stops right here, because as the light rises up, the water evaporates from out of the dark waters of noon. So while the melanin is dripping down to the bottom, the dark waters, that would be the dark waters, be dripping down here to create this. The light waters will be evaporating from out of the primordial waters of noon, coming up. The light, just like the sunlight causes the waters of the ocean and the waters of the that's on the surface or whatever to evaporate, that water will be evaporating out of the melanin, and then you not only you have the water going up, you have light coming from the base after all that floods with light, and so you have the light going up, and then you have that golden you have that water evaporating, causing a mist, a golden mist to form up here when the 7 ladders or the 7 steps are erected or whatever. And then once this stem disconnects from right here, and then all that light starts to travel up through here, the water follows it or whatever. And then once the light goes up in here, the water stops right there and freezes because there's no more heat, or the heat has been reduced to considerable, it's basically been reduced because all the light shot up here, and then all the light that was in the circumference traveled from the center, and all this light here traveled out and then shot out the side of the spear and left this a dark void again. But instead of being in dark waters, it's just a desolate, rocky, sandy, dark land, as all the light travels from the center to the circumference and shoots out and creates the 7 orbits that the planets will take their place in, and then after that going on to create the 12 zodiac. 3, 6, 3. So I mean it'll be 3 spaces, 3 months in each one of these, 3 sets of stars coming from each one of these right here, making the 12 zodiacs or whatever. So when all that goes out and then all this goes up, this creates what's going to become the moon, freezes the top, creates that ice dome up there. So now you'll have a white shell up here, and then you have the dark melanated shell right there, or the underworld or whatever. Now it's like I was telling y'all in another video about animals catching a bad rat. So you look at the rat, when you think of the rat today, it carries a negative connotation. But in Kemet, the rat was called, you had a word called Ararat, and the root word Ararat was A-R-A-R-A-T, with the root word being rat, and rat meant staircase. I'll read it when I get to reading the scholarship right here. But you got another. You read through ancient Egypt like the word, you'll run into another word called Radamenta. What's Radamenta? Well, the rat The reason why the rat was considered the yeah, another word or another spot in this book would tell you that the word for rat was antenna. Antenna is antenna. What's the antenna? The antenna is the spine. If you look at the antenna, it's a stick or a phallic symbol or whatever with a ball on the top of it. That's your spine with your pineal sitting on top of it. The pineal gland is shaped like what? A pine cone. You look at a pine cone and you look at the body of a rat, they're both shaped the same. The little narrow like type front with the back humping, with the, you know what I'm saying? That was so some of the word. I'm saying that the rat was a symbol of the pineal gland or whatever. The shrew mouse was another symbol of Heru because the shrew mouse could see in the dark, and that's what the pineal gland symbolizes. The seeing in the dark symbolizes the light, the darkness of the pineal gland with the light sitting within it or whatever. And so when you're dealing with the radimental, you're dealing with this right here, the pineal gland, or the rat. See how it's humped over like a little rat or whatever, or a mouse. That would be the rat to, and the mental would be the underworld. And that's the thing about Master Splinter in the cartoon. He never leaves the underworld. He's always in the underworld, while the turtles pop up. When you look at the cartoon, the lid pop up and the turtles jump up out of it. Well, this the lid popping up, shooting up here, creating the pole star. And then, like I said, you got the other four. You're gonna have 4 other headquarters right here, with this being the main one. But you have 4 other gateways right here, or 4 other cardinal points, as they call them. So, and then once that goes up, and all them 7 set up the ladder, and then all these 7 down here lay their thing out. Once this last bit of light travels from right here to from this point to up here, create that stem. The last bit of melanin that's dropped through that comes through the center covers this back up and traps some light right there or whatever. And that would be your Master Splinter with the so this would be him right here after everything's been set up with the 4 right there. And then I guess you could say this one would be, since it's the only female, because this would be the female at this point. This would be, I guess you would say this April O'Neil. April O'Neil is a reporter or whatever. So I think that shit is Channel 4 News or something like that. And on the cartoon, she's dressed in all yellow or whatever. So I would say that the yellow would be the light or whatnot, or maybe they just decided to put it in yellow. But so you have your 4 turtles. Then you have, I guess you could say, the female April O'Neil, and then you have Master Splinter right here as the rat's mentor or whatever. So when you see when they talk about the turtle dove, the moon is considered a dove. So when all this goes up here and all the light travels out here and leaves this as a void wasteland with the melanin, with the light buried inside of the melanin, and then that water gets trapped up here and creates that ice dome or whatever. The moon, in zoology, is the dove is emblematic of or symbolized by the moon, or symbolizes the moon or whatever. And then at the same time, it's shaped like a turtle shell, sitting at the top with its base resting on the Earth's surface or whatever. So when they say turtle dove, it's basically saying the dove of the moon And at the same time, by it being shaped like a turtle shell, makes it a turtle dove or whatever. So yeah. And then when you get into Hindu mythology, you'll hear about the footprints of Buddha. What would be the footprints of Buddha? The melanin balls that come down here are the melanin spears that are created right here, the 7 chakras that are created on this spine right here. You have up here, you have melanin clusters with the light in the center. Down here, you have melanin clusters with light sprinkled on the top of them. The footsteps, when they talk about the footsteps of Buddha, they're talking about these little sprinkles of light that sit on top of these melanin spears, as if they're walking over them or whatever. So it's like as the light was coming up the center, it was coming up here and getting going to the center of melanin clusters. But as the melanin was coming down on this stem or whatever, the light that was going up was leaving traces of light behind, but over the melanin spears that was coming down here, which would create these spears with melanin sprinkled on the top of them or whatever. And that would be your foot soldiers, or the foot Shredder's army or whatever. So and then this is your bowl right here. Since we here on my Prince of Syria shit, you know, this would be the bowl with the melanin, that would be the light particle that was left behind would be your cereal. And you got your spoon in the middle, you know what I'm saying? So we got it, we got all our got everything we need for the occasion of this Saturday morning cartoon with the Prince of Syria thing popping, you know what I'm saying? So now get to the scholarship of it. Here we got it. We can knock it out real quick. Alright. So 399, page 399 of Ancient Egypt Light of the World. We'll start right here. It says the earth is sometimes described as having been created on the back of a tortoise. And when the tortoise sank in the water, there was an overwhelming deluge. The deluge comes from when all this light comes up here and they all meet in the star series, and this turns into that ice dome. When the star series spits that sun back out through the center of that big dome of ice, the reaction between the heat and the ice, of course, is gonna cause snow, hail, and rain as the sun travels downhill on its way, makes its way back, and that's what's gonna cause the flood. So all that rain that's created by the sun coming down here, it's gonna flood the surface or whatever. So everything that was created on the top during this process of the light and the darkness exchanging or changing places or whatever, the little mountains up here, because you've been following the work, you know that the mountains that was pushed up was bust down by when the light traveled and went up out of the spear of the earth. Lightning struck down and struck those 7 mountains and broke them down into the titans of the ashes of the titans. But you still have mountains all over the surface though, whatever. So but everything that was created, humans, animals, and all the stuff that wasn't alive, wasn't active or animated shit, was flooded by all that water that was created from the reaction of the moon while it was still connected to the surface of the earth. its reaction to the sun passes back through the center or whatever. But let's get back to it. The earth is sometimes described as having been created on the back of a tortoise, and when the tortoise sank in the water, there was an overwhelming deluge. A Mandan medicine man told Caitlin that the earth was a tortoise carrying dirt up on its back. The mother of beginnings is portrayed in a legend of the Tuscarora Indians as the ancient female in labor Apt, the pregnant hippopotamus goddess, who sank from the upper region and was received on the back of a tortoise which had little earth upon its back. And this became an island upon which she bore twin sons who correspond to the Egyptian Sut and Horus, and then passed away. The tortoise was a zoo type of the earth itself, amidst the waters of space, which she repeated as a figure of land or the landing place, which was repeated as a figure of land or the landing place in the heavens at the pole. It was once an Egyptian sign of the balance or scales in the zodiac at the point of equipoise, where the land emerged from the deluge of the Nile, which would be right here. This is your land of equipoise, the Mayat, the justice, the equality right here. And once the sun came down here, once the sun hit this point here and started drilling into the earth, so it can make its way through to come out to give birth to the sun, it was the ladder was pushing up. So all that water that flooded the surface as the sun was coming down, as the earth was coming, when the sun was coming through the center of the earth was pushing up, and as it was pushing up, traveling up and pushing up, the land was coming up. The land that was flooded, it was pushing the land back up above the water or whatever. So let me see. The tortoise was likewise a type of the constellation Lyra, in which the star Vega was the stellar Polaris 14,000 years ago, and which is I find interesting too, because Vega, if you go look at the video game Street Fighter, one of the Vega is a fallen star. When you look at the Street Fighter, or you have a character on the name Vega, he has a Jason mask, just like you have one of the Turtles' homeboys is Casey Jones, and he has he's a hockey player, so he wears a Jason mask too. But Vega jumps off the gate. They get that from the star Vega, or the fallen vulture or whatever, which would be another symbolism of the sun when it's coming down or falling or shooting down from the top of the mountain down here. Vega jumps. One of his moves is he jumps on the gate and he crawls on the gate, and he jumps off the gate and he stabs you with his claw or whatever. And he has a claw in his hand or whatever. So and the signs of the North American Indians are landing after a voyage is typified by a tortoise. So it's basically saying when they want to tell somebody that they landed or let it be known that they landed, they would use a turtleback. Just like, so if you was floating or you was in the ocean, when you if you was in the ocean, you like an airplane would land, but the equivalence of an airplane landing, as far as in maritime, would be a boat making its way on the shore or whatever. So so let's see. Those who found safety from the deluge on the turtle's back
or on the tortoise would reckon their descent from the mountain of the pole when it was stationed in the constellation of the tortoise or Lyra. So the Taurus is one with so the tortoise is basically the zoo type of the constellation Lyra, and Lyra is the lyre, which is the original lyres, which are so many words, harps or whatever. They were made by what they would do, they would take a turtle shell and they would sew strings. Yes, they'll take the bottom off or the stomach off or whatever, or the shell that's over the bottom of the turtle shell or whatever, and then over that hollow hollowness or over the top or whatever, which if this was the turtle and this is the top, they'd have lyre strings, 7 lyre strings or whatever over it, and make it into an instrument or whatever. And which goes back to Vega as well, because Vega jumps out the gate. The gate would be similar to the lyre. You know, the chain of the fencing of the gate would correspond to the strings of the lyre or whatever. So let's see. Thus, the Delaware Indians gave precedence to the turtle clan because they descended from the great original tortoise, not from any common turtle. The Iroquois turtle clan are likewise descended from a great fat turtle which threw off his shell and gradually developed into a man. There go your Ninja Turtle thing. Remember I told you they took they came in contact with the ooze or the radioactive slime, and it changed them into humans. And here you go right here. Or here we go right here. What they saying? With them saying the Iroquois turtle clan are likewise descended from a great fat turtle which threw off his shell and gradually developed into a man. Which goes back to the Adam Cadman. When you're dealing with the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism or Judaic mysticism, you have the Adam Cadman, which is the Adam Cadman is the grand man, or the representation of the whole universe as one man, or an androgynous figure or whatever. So you have the earth, you know, when you look at it as 2 spears joined at the center or whatever, you can look at those as the turtle shells. But then when you look at you can even see it in the, when I was telling you about Crane, this would be the head of Crane, and then he had a brain in the stomach of the big robot, because he had a giant robot. That would be the Adam Cadman as well, the robot of Crane or whatever. And Crane, but instead of having a pineal gland, this would be the pineal gland right here. But when you dealing with Crane, instead of having a pineal gland sitting in the stomach or whatever, he has an actual brain sitting there. But this would be you go watch the cartoon, you'll see what I'm saying. This is the head and this is the brain. And if I ain't mistaken, I think that the headquarters that Shredder and Crane them live in is a round ball with an eyeball on top of it. It's like a round metal spear with an eyeball on top of it, which looks kind of like this. I gotta go check it out. I ain't seen the cartoon in so long, so I gotta go. But if my memory serves me correct, that was their lair or their headquarters or whatever. So the turtle, and it goes back to what I was telling y'all about in the how this was considered the lyre or the guitar strings or whatever with the sun. When I was doing the Valentine's Day joint, I was telling you I was showing you when the sun was right here lined up with the heart chakra, as the rays was coming through here, and the rays shooting through and illuminating the earth would be similar to a guitar or a lyre being played, or a harp being played. The harp being played by by your boy Cupid or whatever. So let me get back to this here. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to knock all this out in one setting, but we're gonna get as much as we can right now. So this is exactly what did occur. Yeah, so like I'm saying, you got the atom cabinet, which you can look at the whole universe as a grand man, or you can look at the Earth itself as the grand man, or the atom cabinet or whatever. So you have the turtle shells, but then you got the atom cabinet, which corresponds to this right here, which is the Iroquois turtle clan, or likewise descended from a great fat turtle, which threw off his shell and gradually developed into a man. And as you know, when the sun finally, when the Earth finally jumped off the back of the sun, when the sun came through here, and the Earth was coming up and traveling through each one of these, it met with the root chakra. By the time it met with the root chakra had moved, the whole Earth had shifted up. And the root chakra was now where the pineal gland sits at right there, with the Earth sitting on top of it. Then the Earth blows off the sun, and then the moon, or that dome of ice, blows off the top, or that shell of ice blows off the top of the Earth's surface and goes into its orbit as the Earth travels to its orbit or whatever. So that would be the shell being thrown off the back or whatever, and the Earth becoming a man. So this is exactly what did occur when the tortoise Lyra sank into the waters, or the turtles were drowned, and a typical man was created at the next station of the pole. If we suppose the end of the period to have come for the pole to move out of Cygnus into the constellation Lyra, or the tortoise, the next landing stage in the course of precession, the end was the submergence of the pole star, or a deluge, and those who escaped from the drowning when the station of the pole in Cygnus went under naturally sought a place of safety on the back of the tortoise, or its co-type, the turtle. Evidently, this was what did occur when the deluge took place in the myth of Manabozho. The deluge was let in by the black serpent monster, the representative of the evil and physical phenomena. At the island of the turtle or tortoise was Manabozho, the grandfather of men and beings. As he was born creeping, he is ready to move and dwell in turtle land. Then the men and beings all go forth together on the flood waters, moving afloat everywhere, seeking the back of the turtle. All together on the back of the turtle, then the waters ran off it, was dry. All together on the back of the turtle, then the waters ran off it. All together on the back of the turtle, then the men were all together. Much frightened, Manabozho prayed to the turtle that he would make all well again. Then the waters ran off it. Was dry on mountain plain, and the great evil went elsewhere by the path of the cave. According to the Mexican version, there were 7 caves in the celestial mountain, which answers to the 7 stations of the pole. One of these was the cave of the turtle. In another account that was preserved in the pictograph, it is the turtles that declared war on Manabozho and produced the deluge. Manabozho first carried his grandmother to the summit of a lofty mountain. He himself climbed to the top of the tallest pine tree and waited until the waters had subsided. Then he created an island which supported him and became the new world. This was the new station of the pole, and the tallest pine was a tree of the pole that was planted and erected into heaven when the flood was over. One of the most striking survivals is that of the tortoise, and it is connected with the deluge and the religious ceremonies of the Indians. They say the world was once a great tortoise born on the waters and covered with the earth. One day a tribe of white men had made holes in the earth to a great depth while digging for badgers at length. They pierced the shell of the tortoise and it sank. The deluge followed and drowned all men, but one saved himself in the boat. And when the earth reemerged, he sent out a dove, which returned to him with a branch of the willow in his beak. How much time I got? 5 minutes. Let me go. I want to go to this part about the rat thing real quick. Arrow rat. And all this shit was in the same little section. There you go. Now, this last little section, show you what I was saying about the Master Splinter. Now this is page 404. All this is in the, that's why it's show you how it all line up, because you got the turtle. Same section is talking about the turtles is when they get into the arrow rat or the antenna or the rat. It says, now the human birthplace has been localized according to different stations of the pole, which was 7 in number altogether. There were 7 countries, nomes, and cities determined by the pole star. Each race claims a particular place for a starting point in the migration from the mount or the tree or the back of the tortoise. And the various races have preserved some fragments of the stories told about the wanderings and migrations from one land to another, as in the legends of the North American Indians, the Aztecs, and the Arunta of Central Australia. The so-called primitive cradle of human race in Ararat or Urdu, the district of the mountain of the world, had its prototype in the planisphere and the birthplace at the pole. Ararat is but one form of the mythical mount. That's the mythical mount right here. This is the feminine, and this would be the father, or the masculine, who stays behind. When all these go up, he's Osiris, laying flat or dead in the midst, or Osiris at a resting heart. That would be your boy, Master Splinter. Ararat is but one form of the mystical mount. We derive the name from the Egyptian root rat, which signifies the ascent, the steps of ascent, the footstool. So in this form, it would be the footstool of the 7, seen that it sits at the bottom. The figure of in developed form, our root, the root. If this was a flower, this would be the root right here. The our root or our rat also denotes the staircase or the steps of ascent, which is the mount of 7 steps, or the staircase, the mount. So in this, it would be these 7 going leading up to this, which is the Ararat right here. And this is just really a copy of this, the twins or whatever. But the Ararat or Radimental would be more so this one, because this one is over the underworld right here, Arata Mental. So in one form, the ark or Ararat was the circumpolar paradise. In another, it is the eternal city like Thebes, which is called the august staircase of the beginning of time, the Utat of the universal Lord, which led up to the particular region where the eye was then at full as the figure of a period in procession. When the pole had passed to the sign of Hercules, the man, the typical mount, which had been figured in the hippopotamus and Draconis, and the lesser bear, or Cepheus, and Cygnus, and then the tortoise, naturally became the mountain of mankind by name. This was the birthplace of the human race, who descended from Atum, Admu, or Adam, as